I will give you some short news on what's going on in the OTP team. This is the outline of what I will say about the community interaction, the planned releases, details of the next release, details of the next big release, or what we know about it, and then long term, and something more about splitting OTP. So, about the community, we are working together with the industrial Erlang user group, and we have some items on the agenda, like the issue tracker, the packet management support in OTP, the open backlog, and we have already, you know about bugs.erlang.org, the issue tracker, where you can report bugs, you can suggest new features. That's already live. It replaces the Erlang bugs mailing list, which we rather don't want to have bug reports in anymore. And we have seen a big improvement by using this other issue tracker because it's easier to keep track of the reported issues. And you can also see them in the release notes, then what was the issue and so on. So the next step now is that we plan to have all our issues generated also internally within Ericsson and the OTP team and also the new functions in this issue tracker. So then we can have, when we give it out the release, we can have when we give out the release, we can refer to the issues here, and you can read about them in the release notes and so on. Instead of, as today, we have some kind of internal issue IDs, which you don't know anything about. So, it will happen soon, I hope. Yes. Next thing is about Rebar. We will try to integrate Rebar more in OTP and use it ourselves. The steps here is, the first one is already taken here, that we have put Rebar 3 in the Erlang domain at GitHub. The next step is to integrate it even further, and also then building OTP applications with Rebar. I will talk more about this later at the end of this speech. About it has to do with splitting OTP in different repositories. So now about releases. The major idea is that we have one major release per year, and then we have 3 planned correction packages, you could say. And in between that, we have emergency packages or patches. Everything here is available on GitHub and tagged, and it's announced on the Erlang questions list. And there's then a main branch for the current supported release, and there's a master branch for the upcoming next major release. So now we have OTP 19.0 is out since June, and the next one is then 19.1, 21st of September. I would also like here to say something about compatibility. Our strategy regarding compatibility. We get questions about this from time to time. When it comes to communicating between Erlang nodes, we have the strategy to support the communication between the current and 2 older major versions. in many cases it works with even greater difference between versions, but that's nothing that we try to guarantee. And it's the same for loading Beam modules. That you can load a Beam module made with an older Erlang system into a newer Erlang system, and usually that works with really old Beam modules to a very new Erlang system, but we don't try to guarantee more than 2 versions there. And the other way, building a Beam module with the newest version of Erlang and trying to put it into the older version, that might work by pure accident. Nothing to rely on, because we could introduce new instructions in the newer version, and they are not understood at all in the older one. But usually it will be a check, so that it will fail at load time. So then in this maintenance track, the next upcoming release is 19.1, and I have some points that I can mention here. You know about the dirty schedulers, perhaps. Some enhancements in that area, for example, regarding code loading and unloading of code, which could go quite bad before. We have the API there for DSCP, diff serve code points, priority on TCP, or what you could call it. Settings both in the API, in Gen TCP or INET, and in the distribution. ASN.1 parallel build, that's nothing special. I suppose not many of you are using ASN.1. And then dialyzer improvements, and something about our INETs is the HTTP server and some new features, but there are other HTTP servers as well, which are more used than this one. And then we have a lot of contributions from the community inside the release, as usual. Then the next big release planned for June, the dirty schedulers continues to be worked on, and it will not be experimental anymore. I think I said in San Francisco this year that it is less experimental than previously, but in this, after this one, it should be not experimental at all. Another thing is the scalability of I/O. We call it separate poll sets, which then can make it possible for, if you have many schedulers, they can wait for I/O all of them in parallel. This is not a bottleneck for all applications, but some of them have a bottleneck in this case. Native processes, that's a continuation of the dirty schedulers, which should enable us to write I/O drivers in a different way than today, and a more efficient way than today. For example, the TCP driver. Then we will split OTP. I will talk more about that. It's not for sure exactly how to do it, but and you can cooperate with us and have suggestions about that. I think it will impact the current packages as well. I mean, if you are using Rebar today, you are not specifying dependencies to OTP. or OTP applications. It is, but in this case, maybe the OTP applications are not the same anymore. Or it's a smaller set of applications. So this is about splitting OTP and the packet manager. Then documentation enhancements are mostly about getting a new look and feel for it. And we will work about improving the distribution, I mean support for having many nodes. Today there are TCP connections between all nodes, and there is some functions like global and Tunisia which wants all nodes to be connected in a mesh. And that creates a lot of file descriptors that you have to supervise all the time, and it doesn't scale so well. There are some floating point functions, seal and floor, which will be introduced. The distribution, as I said, we will look into the distribution and support many nodes, look at heterogeneous distribution that you can have, for example, TLS encrypted connections to one node and unencrypted to other nodes. Distributed hash table is worked on, and that could be a replacement for global. It could have other uses as well. Among other things, it's there to make us being able to avoid having every node connected to each other. Then there's a certificate status protocol. It will be in the SSL application, I think. Okay. DTLS is ongoing work that we hope that it will be kind of working here. And in the compiler, we will work with pattern matching improvements. So, the long term, we have ongoing work with just-in-time compilation things. It's not for sure that this will bring it to a product. Depends on the outcome of benchmarks and so on. But we hope that we at least can take some good things from that work. It will not happen in the next major release. It will take more time than that. And more about distribution then. And the Otp Split is also, I will take that in the next slide then. Packet Manager is connected to Otp Split, and documentation will also continue to improve. And we are looking also what Elixir is doing in the documentation area, and maybe we can have something in common with them. So, the split of OTP. Today, OTP is one big Git repository with 52 applications. The first step that we plan to do there is to move out just a few of these applications to separate repositories. And we mainly select those that we are seldom used, or of course we don't have any dependencies to them either from the core part. And then we will try to build these separate applications with Rebar. Of course that will work, but we will also sort out, it will impact our internal building and testing. So we find a strategy that works in this small change, and then we will take a bigger change later to define kind of a basic repo that is kind of minimal for what you need to run and build Erlang applications. And then you can fetch the other ones. But of course it can be discussed how much we should have in this basic repo. How many development tools should we have, or should it be split between tools and runtime or whatever? And if we do like this, I think the current applications using or packages using Rebar need to define what OTP applications or previously OTP applications they have dependencies to. But maybe the core that we keep there is what's usually what they usually have dependencies to. So maybe that's not so big impact. Yes. That's the plans about this. I mean, feedback about what will happen in this split is welcome. And of course, pull requests and suggestions about missing functionality in OTP rather than creating a whole new package. I think it's also welcome if we just need to add a few tweaks, then it's better to do it in some common place than to have too many different alternatives. Because I think if you have packages like this, not only our packages, but all the other ones floating around, I think you should avoid dependency hell. I mean, I don't want to pick a package and then I get the whole world with it. I think unnecessary dependencies are an evil thing. Avoid it. Okay. Okay, any questions?
Please raise your hand.
It's not actually a question, but I'd like to make some advertisement for our new Gen Statum behavior. Mike was talking about selective receive and how important it is, and Gen Statum is a behavior that enables you to do finite state machines with selective receive semantics, and it's new in 19. Please try it out.
Excellent. Another one?
I mean, the Gen Statum was introduced in 19.0.
So you were talking about this distribution, right? So
yes.
Have you guys chosen any particular DHT protocol, say Kadamlia or anything, to implement this distribution?
Could you please repeat?
I mean, you're talking about distribution, right? I mean, scaling Erlang nodes inside a mesh. So have you guys chosen any particular distributed hash table protocol to implement that? Would it be based on Chord or Kadamlia? Or?
It's based on Chord, as it seems now, yes.
Okay.
Are you going to support a package repository or something like that?
We plan to, cooperate with Elixir and use the, if that answers your question, use the hex thing they have. And they already have Erlang packages in it.
Just want to clarify that you used the word packet manager. Is it a package manager or packet manager? I don't know what the packet means.
I don't. I mean, what I mean in this presentation, it's that we have in Erlang we have something called applications, and that is a good unit of installing, uninstalling, upgrading, patching, having dependencies too. And that's what I mean. You put each application in a package. But of course it can be debated if it's possible to put two applications in the same package. Usually not done, I think. We have always treated, one application as the smallest unit that we want to deliver a new version of to the customer. And the customer can upgrade it. We have the up mechanism for upgrading an application, for example.
Final question.
Following up along those same lines, being one of the only users of included applications, are you going to continue to support included applications if you change with the package manager? I don't hear many people supporting it, and they argue against it and say don't use included applications. So I'm just curious.
But included applications, it's a notion in the app file.
Yeah.
And I think it means something about the start order.
Right.
Only. And the other things in the app file, it means, if you're listing other applications, it also has to do with start order. So I think we have to do something about where is the correct information about dependencies, because you can have dependencies without needing to start. You have only dependencies to a library also.
It relates to the packaging because the code has to be available at start time.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, please give Kenneth a warm round of applause.